All right, we up in here. 93, 93, 93. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. You already know what the fuck it is. Just getting everything set up here. All right. We are still in Scorpio season. So, that's why I titled this The Season of Transformation. All right? Because if you are in tune with the planetary forces, then you have been going through change, probably extreme change, during this season, which is supposed to happen. All right, close all that down. Just want to put on some background music. Just closing out all this extra stuff. There we go. Let's see. What's up, Mary 93? We're going to get into it in just a second. All right. Yeah, there we go, there we go. There we go. What's up, Steph? Peace. All right. Okay. You're going at it with your mother? Yeah, definitely. And that's what I mean. Once you recognize the themes of these energies and how they are parallel with your actual life, and you see all these things happening in real time, and you understand, okay, this is more than just personalities and knowing who has a certain type of personality and what a person's zodiac sign is. Again, this is just how the mainstream breaks down this information because that's just how far or how deep they are actually able to go. So, but if you ever for 1 second think that that's all this is, it's just a bunch of personality traits and horoscopes and shit like that, then, because essentially that's what it has been dumbed down to be. Meaning the way of 93 has not continued, really. And what I mean by that is, we know one of the quotes of Aleister Crowley is that the tarot is not just a mere fortune telling tool. These are the keys into your entire universe. Meaning, once you truly understand what the occult is, and that's why I say commit it to heart, you can't know what it is if you don't know it internally. So that when you go past the books, because people still wondering what books to read, what they should study, what they shouldn't study, I'm just going to keep giving you the same answer. Like the occult as a whole is your book, right? The tarot is your book. Astrology is your book. The tarot illustrates the astrology. Because if you think astrology is just a bunch of measurements and degrees and there is no actual energy behind it, then, but again, this is not how most people draw it up. They're not making these connections. So again, they are not able to see these things. And it's really not for them to see because they're not ready to have full responsibility over their life. So people are only going to see how far of a responsibility they are willing to take on. That's basically the gist of it. So that's why, like, when you try to explain things to people who are just not ready to hear you, or who just they just fail to understand, it's because they're not willing to take on the responsibility of knowing the truth. The truth has a heavy weight. As we know, everybody tried to cover up all the bullshit. So when you start to see the world for how it is, when you start to see human nature for how it is, it's very, you can say, really disgusting. It's really, it turns your stomach in ways that you didn't even know your stomach can turn. However, now you hold the responsibility of you still have to keep cool. You still have to balance the scales, even with knowing the truth. Most people don't know the truth because they don't want to know the truth. It's not that the truth is ever hidden. Don't think that nobody is exposing anything. We have a lot of, videos on YouTube. This is being exposed, what the Illuminati is doing, what the government is doing, what's going on in politics, all this stuff, what's really going on behind the scenes. Most people don't want to know these things because if we feel all these things are going on behind the scenes, does that really motivate you to be a part of the game? Meaning, if you know how corrupt politics is, does that motivate you to want to be a politician? Probably not. Are you trying to be the next president when you see everything that Donald Trump has to go through, everything that Joe Biden has to go through? It probably doesn't motivate you to move in those directions, right? Because we're always trying to expose some type of corruption going on. We don't realize that this is just a part of the game. There is no way to be clean in a dirty game. However, this is the whole purpose of mastering your own shadow. So, Bitch Hunt 93. We master our own shadow so that we can bear the truth. If you can't bear the truth of your own shadow, then you're not going to be able to bear the truth of the world's shadow or the world's psyche. As we go into those are the mysteries of Neptune, just to bring it full circle, right? Neptune represents your unconscious mind, right? It's a part of you that you are most unfamiliar with. Nonetheless, it is still a part of you. Most of the time, the attributes that we hate about other people is probably connected to your own unconscious, meaning we project our unconscious feelings onto others. So, like when people have attributes that we don't like, those attributes are most likely a part of you. It's just you fail to recognize, to see it because you don't want to bear the truth of yourself. Why? Because that means you are not who you think you are. So if you think you're a saint, you think you're better than others, you think you have some type of ego, whatever world that a person has created for themselves by avoiding their shadow, the shadow just makes you realize that you are nothing. I'm just going to say it plain and clear. You are nothing. But with being nothing, you are also everything, meaning you are unlimited potential. So we are not stuck in a certain frame or a certain character, you can say. Life is a giant play, it's a giant performance. People just have to be in character. Being in character is basically the same as saying being in position. Meaning you want to be in position so that you can extract resources or take advantage of opportunities that present themselves. So this is why we take time to integrate our consciousness with what we call the occult. But as we also know, most people don't deal with the forbidden arts. Meaning most people are not doing necromantic work. Pretty much most of the stuff we talk on this channel, most of the things that are concerning 93, most people don't do. What's up, back from hiatus? Going to the first point of 93 is the only place the occult is truly preserved, you can say, in its natural element, void of any type of, you can say, opinion. This is just the absolute, you can say, this is, it's basically all channels, meaning, as we know, if you read the literature of 93, you can say a lot of the literature, mainly the book of the law, right? The book of the law is a channel. The book of the law is not the thoughts of a human. The book of the law is the thoughts of Awas, right? Who was a prophet of Hippocrates, for those who understand what's going on here. So you can say the deepest knowledge is revealed poetically. It's revealed, you can say, in a parable form. It's revealed in parables. Why? Because depending on how many layers of your consciousness you have unlocked, that will determine what level you understand wisdom. A person becomes wise because they unlock chambers of their consciousness. This goes back to the unconscious mind. It's the part of you that you don't want to know, that you probably wished that is not connected to you, that holds all of the gain that you're trying to seek in the world. Most of the things we're trying to seek in the world is already within the unconscious, but you have to face your shadow in order to retrieve these resources that are metaphysical, as we call psychic abilities, right? What makes us recognize that we are more than human beings, we have access to, you can say, occult forces. But remember, even in the Star Wars movie, you have the light side of the Force, aka the Jedi's. You have the dark side of the Force, the Sith Lords. Right? Most people ain't dealing with the dark side of the Force. Why? Because when you look at what it does to people, what doesn't motivate you to go in that direction, right? Why would you want to deal with the dark side of the Force when you see how it corrupts a person's consciousness? It corrupts their hearts. You know, they end up essentially dying in some ridiculous way. Why would you even want to put your hands on something like that? That is done for a reason. It's a reason why the hero always wins in movies, right? What's the last movie you've seen and the villain actually wins? The universe actually gets destroyed because whatever the villain is doing, trying to destroy the world, trying to change it. When is the last movie you saw they just let the bad shit happen? Most of the time they don't really show those type of movies, right? That kind of throws off the whole persona of what the movie is trying to accomplish because it's a psychological game. They are painting pictures psychologically to influence your subconscious. So of course the hero will always have to win, even though the villain may be actually more correct or closer to the absolute truth. However, the absolute truth will require a grand transformation. That's really all the villains are doing, or the dark side of the force, the Sith Lords. It represents a grand transformation, a transformation you can say that the world isn't ready for. For example, a lot of people, are comparing the events of the world to World War III. We are in the beginning of World War III. Yada yada yada. All that really represents is a grand transformation. If we are truly at the brink of world war, that just means a transformation has to occur. You cannot be the same moving forward. But people are so relaxed with who they think they are. The last thing they want to do is what we call kill the ego. Because the ego, when it is non existent or at least put to sleep, and the only thing that remains is your shadow, and you realize just how much of an animal or how much of a beast you are, and you try to pretend like you're saintly or spiritual, and it's like, nah, you're not at all. None of us are. Don't pretend. A lot of people like to pretend, but again, this is why they stay away from the darker arts. Because the darker arts don't allow you to pretend. As you see, I pretty much just have to tell the fucking truth. I have no choice. I can't come up here and lie. Because I'm dealing with the dark side, which we already know, right? So because I'm just dealing with the raw, authentic shit, it's like this just reflects in my energy, right? I have no intentions of ever coming on here and like, okay, let me just make some shit up, right? That's just an attribute. But again, is that really the best way to deal with, you can say, corporate America? Is that the best way to approach the world when you're just this pure raw energy? Probably not. You probably will want to be a lot more refined. And that's why people dumb down their energy and dumb down their consciousness and dumb down what they want to learn because they're trying to integrate with, you can say, the real world. So that's why we have a lot of soft ass spirituality. That's like the dominant force. Most people are just concerned with positive thoughts and positive thinking and manifestation and all this, as if that's the end all be all. You can say that's a light side of the force. The light side of the force is comfortable. You can go on TV shows, you can talk about consciousness, you can talk about positive thoughts, you can talk about manifestation. Nobody's gonna look at you crazy if you bring up those type of things, right? That's pretty much accepted. But if you bring up anything concerning the dark side, and again, just because a person is exposing something doesn't mean they're a part of the dark side. So this doesn't include these people who are just trying to reveal things because they're not really revealing anything. Because the only thing that you should actually care to reveal is your own unconscious mind. That should be the only treasure that you seek. People are seeking treasures out in the world, right? They're trying to do everything in the world and avoid the one thing you actually came here to do, which is unlock the chambers of your own mind. Who are you really? Fuck what the world is. The world is going to be what the world is, but you have the opportunity to transform your consciousness by learning yourself intimately. Most people do not know themselves intimately, they're running from themselves intimately. That's why people are just hopping in relationships, just hopping in shit that just makes no sense. Because when you're alone and you're in the dark, you're in the silence, you're by yourself. This is what I noticed as being amongst the public, they hate silence. When there's silence, somebody got to talk, somebody got to play music, people got to move around. They're uncomfortable with themselves. I see this every day when I'm out and about. People are uncomfortable just being in the midst of their own meditative forces, just being in the midst of their own aura. Why? Because they don't like who they are. They don't want to admit that, but some people are more, you can say, savage than others. They don't have any discipline, but that's just their unconsciousness, and they don't know how to tame their own demons, which we all have. We all have our own Koreen. We are all one with jinn. We are all one with the angels. People try to pick sides, but it's like we are all of it. But there's very few people that embrace all of it. That's the energy of Pan, right? That's the energy of Pan, right? And we know recently, Brother Panic made the transition. I wasn't really able to speak about it because I was going through my own shit, right? I'm like, it just was like colliding. I'm like, I can't even talk about it right now. All I can do is really kind of connect with people that was talking about it. And I didn't watch one single video. I'm not gonna lie. I saw the videos that was made about Brother Panic. I didn't watch not one of them. It didn't seem real to me. I'm like, the energy is off. I don't like it. So I didn't watch not one video. I just allowed the channels to come to me directly. And what was revealed to me was most people, of course, you have people that's clout chasing, right? As you see, I'm not even going to put his name in my title because I'm not even trying to get any energy off of his name. Just that again, you see, I never cared to do that, right? So I'm not even going to put his name in the title. It's just if you see this video, you will hear me talk about it. But again, I'm not going to make this the whole theme of the video but this has to do with the Scorpio energy because it happened in Scorpio season. So I'm like, okay, of course I'm going to speak about it because this goes into what's going on the grand scale of. I'm just going to make it plain and clear. As we know, panic means Pan. Most people don't know Pan. How do I know most people don't know Pan? Why? Because you have to come over here to know Pan. What do I mean you have to come over here? A lot of the workings or writings or literature of Aleister Crowley deals with Pan. You would know that if you read the literature. The literature is, a lot of the literature is dedicated to Pan. There are many channels dedicated to Pan. So if you have not read the literature of 93, you don't know Pan. Which I know majority of the people who knew Brother Panic and who was able to benefit from his teachings, they are not over here. They don't know anything about this. They're not this deep into it. That's why I say there's no point in me even trying to tap into any of these people's energies. They don't even know who Pan is. But this is just what I have been receiving. I'm like, all right, well, if you really want to know Pan, if you truly want to understand his mission, who he really was, you have to go into the mysteries, the darker mysteries of Pan, which is not in the public. It's not on the light side. You have to go to the dark side of the Force. Which is why, as you see, that's one of the chambers, or I could say that's one of the chambers he opened up. It was the dark side of the occult, dealing with death, dealing with all the things that people are afraid of, the all the things that people just want to ignore. He opened up those chambers because he lived up to his name, right? Okay, he lived up to his name. But most people don't know Pan. You cannot really know Pan unless you read the Lemic literature. I'm just going to be the first one to say it. There is no other literature on this planet that's going to give you an intimate understanding of Pan other than the Lemic literature. It's nowhere. It doesn't exist. But that's why most people went over here. Because they don't want to know Pan. Because Pan is essentially how you get to know yourself from the inside out. Because we know Pan represents all encompassing. So something that's Pan, meaning it's all of it. It's not what you pick and choose. It's not, okay, I'm cool with that, but I'm not cool with that. The whole idea behind Pan is embracing all of it, meaning the light side and the dark side, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're not picking and choosing what you want to deal with. You deal with the energies that come to you through the omens if you have the eyes to perceive it. And I know most people don't have the eyes to perceive it because you don't really want to know yourself. Because it's very terrible truths about yourself that you're probably not ready to hear. People spend all this time building up this persona that's not even real. What do I mean by that? Meaning people try to get their education, master degrees, PhDs. They essentially create themselves in the world, in the so-called real world, and that's how they define themselves. But how many people are really revealing their darkness? Not many, right? People always want to put their best foot forward, meaning they want to deal with the light. They're not trying to, okay, this is my darkness. This is how I have to deal with demons every night. They're not really putting that on the forefront. It seems counterintuitive. Wouldn't you want to put your best foot forward? Why would you want to just reveal, not even reveal, but really just why would you want to come into a situation on your own Darth Vader time? You probably wouldn't want to come into a situation like a Jedi and be civilized and civil and try to find peace. But once you realize peace is a fucking illusion and that there is no peace, then you're like, okay, well, we're just in the midst of chaos. And only you can do is stabilize the chaos. There is no stabilization without chaos because what actually stabilizing is chaos itself, right? What you're actually stabilized. So the deeper you go into yourself and you learn the ugly truth about yourself and you stop putting on a fucking front as if you are not that, then everything changes. You go through an inner transformation as we call mental alchemy, right? This is essentially what you are doing as an alchemist, as an occultist. You are digging into your absolute truth, the truth of Pan. Pan is there's ugly versions of yourself that you probably are disgusted with. But they float around in your unconscious mind because that's the only place that they are accepted. You will not allow your consciousness to be introduced to these energies. The dark side essentially opens up these chambers so that you can see, like, oh, as we may, whether you want to call it clipoffic forces, forbidden forces, occultic powers, satanic powers, the Sidhi powers, whatever the fuck title you want to put on it, it's the same process. How do we know this? A perfect example of this is somebody who has been to war. We call these people veterans, right? A lot of veterans have, you can say, PTSD, right? It makes them, they They can wake up in the middle of the night and think they're still at war if they've been in combat, right? And they go through these, you can say, episodes, flashbacks. It just completely changes how they have to navigate life because they've been through something very traumatic, very transformative. As we know, most people is not going through that level of hardship, right? That's not the average person's experience. The average person experience, like, it's really nothing. I'm just being honest. The average problems that most people have ain't about nothing. It's not about nothing. When you listen to, I wouldn't encourage you to listen to it actually. But when you overhear like people just nagging, bitching, and moaning about everyday problems, it's like, okay, well, these people would never be rich. These people would never be successful. How the fuck you complaining and you not even at the goal yet? Meaning there's people would love to have the money that they wish for, but they're not willing to put the work in. They're not willing to suffer enough. So it's like I don't even want to talk about this shit. Really, just talking about the shit just disgusts me. I just really don't like loser type energy. But we know this. We are amongst this bullshit anyway because this is what the world creates. The world creates losers. The loser mentality, the victim mentality. The world creates this mentality. Most people have this mentality. That's why most people are just psychologically fucked. They got to go to therapists and psychiatrists and all. They don't know how to compartmentalize their own energy. They don't have the capability because they feel like it's out of their hands. They fucking pray for it. That's what they do. They pray. Anybody out here like I'm gonna pray on it, I'm like, you have no fucking plan. You don't know what's going on. You're just gonna pray and hopefully it goes away. That's childish, childlike. But it's good to be childlike because that's where all the energy comes from. So there's a good side of being childlike and there's a bad side. Most people fall on the bad side. Most people are going through a second childhood because they're caught into the past. Like, you just hear a lot of people just talking about their past. They can't get over the past. It's like, I don't even like bringing up the goddamn past at this point. I'm like, the past don't even exist to me, right? I wish I would try to go through a second childhood. I'm like, my first childhood, I don't even want to think about this shit. I'm like, it sucked. Not because I had a bad childhood. I'm like, I just didn't have consciousness. I'm like, I was stupid. Why would I want to be stupid again? I had to grow into consciousness. So why would I ever want to go backwards? But if you never grew into consciousness, of course you're going to revert. You're going to go into a retrograde state, which is we call a karmic state. So this is why the average person is all. It just seems like the average person just got a million and one things going on. They can't get this done. They're all over the place, just doing whatever. It's like there is no stability. I guess we call this just living from check to check, type energy, right? Living from check to check. That's more than just a money thing. It's a consciousness thing, meaning their thoughts don't go past a week or 2 weeks. They can't think about what's going on month to month or year to year because there's too many moving pieces in their lives. That's their shadow that they refuse to accept. That's why in hip hop, because let's translate this to hip hop. In hip hop, the dark side is embraced, is it not? The rappers come from the underworld, do they not? They come from the pimping, the drug dealing, the killing, the robbing. They come from a place where they had to activate their shadow to survive. The shadow had to be activated. And it's embraced in hip hop because hip hop is essentially, you can say, the only place where certain shit is accepted. Meaning, we created a space for ourselves to activate our shadow. That's what hip hop is. The culture as a whole, beyond the music. is to activate your shadow. We know hip hop has 9 elements. So whatever elements you are working within is coming from your shadow. So when you MC, your words are coming from your shadow. When you dance, when you b-boy, b-girl, it's coming from the shadow. All of these magical elements that are completely natural is coming from the shadow. It comes from the underworld. It is, in a sense, necromantic. It can go into the necromantic plane because we know you can raise a dead with certain energies, certain combinations, right? Saying all these things to say that in the season of Scorpio, this is the time for you to activate the transformation that you know you have to undergo. As you can see in my own life, you see I'm in a different location right now, right? This is not the usual location y'all see me. Y'all will never see me in that location again, right? This is a new norm, right? As you see, you don't hear no noise. I had to transition into my own space, right? So now I can probably have a little consistency now because it's not all these moving pieces going on. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna walk into when I come home. Those days are over because I had to make, or you can say I had to kill that version of myself, which is the chaos, right? Because as you see, if you've been following my channel for quite some time, it was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of chaos. I had to slowly but surely stabilize the chaos. So if you've been watching recently, you just have been seeing me stabilize all this chaos that I summoned. I summoned my shadow. I summoned the chaos, and then I had to stabilize the shit. And you just been seeing it surely but surely, slowly but surely, right? Because there's no need to rush. So what I'm gonna do now is, because I have all these tools, shit like this, right? So I have alcohol here, and of course I have the devil's leaf. So we're gonna get into a channel, right? Well, what might as well, right? Might as well get into a channel so the spirit can say what it needs to say, so I can become a vessel and speak beyond what I'm saying now, right? This is just a little warm up. Y'all ain't seen me in a couple weeks, but as you see, I had to make a transition. I had to move all my stuff from one place to another place, and there's a lot going on trying to do all this stuff in between working. So it's like I had to utilize my time very constructive. I got all my stuff now. I got the mic and everything. I got everything set up now. I should be able to set everything up, and we should be able to build consistency from this point. So now I just got to find out what's the best time to go live. I'll be able to do it more consistently. But you see, I had to do it myself, though, right? It's not happening because I prayed for it. I had to put action behind the energy, behind the intent. And here we are. And here we are, right? Here we are. That's why I constantly try to remind you. All I'm doing is just showing you what happens when you activate your shadow. It's not going to be all roses. There's certain things that it's going to change you, that you learn about yourself. I ain't talking about you actually going through anything. I'm talking about when you take full control of your life. So now things don't just happen to you. Things are happening because of you. But I'm like, I gotta be the example though, right? Who the fuck am I to talk about anything that I'm not living out, that I'm not doing? That's why I keep showing y'all. I'm like, here are the results. Am I not just showing y'all fucking results? Right? Because there's a lot of people just talking, right? But if I'm the OG, and I am, right? I had to do what everybody else is unwilling to do. Again, people come on the internet trying to get famous. I became infamous. Imagine that. Because all I did was show forth my shadow, while everybody else is trying to show forth their ego. I had to kill the ego, put the ego to the side, allow the shadow to manifest, and whatever comes with it is what comes with it. And you see, that's how I've been playing it, right? You see, I don't filter anything on the channel. I just speak from the heart. And we've been rolling. Well, no, I'm just speaking from the heart, right? We've been rolling. I just keep going deeper into the clip off. I keep going deeper into the unconsciousness. And as I go deeper into my own unconscious, as you see, my life begins to reflect on the outside what's going on the inside. So as you see, there's more stability going on right now because I'm stabilizing the chaos. My life is just reflecting the stabilization of chaos. It's not the absence of chaos, it's the stabilization of chaos. You see, I'm still, you can say, in the hood, technically. It's all type of crazy shit going on around me. However, everything is outside of the doors. Once you step into this space, the energy stabilizes. I can't speak on anybody else's space. I just know in here, the energy is going to be stabilized. Not because it's just meant to be stabilized, because the work has to be put in to do so. But again, people don't know Pan. So, and the reason I keep bringing up Pan is because Pan represents, you can say, your dark side, your shadow. Pan represents, you can say, the ugliness of yourself. It's the ugly parts of your consciousness. Excuse me. This alcohol is it's pretty good stuff. I never had this before. I just so happened to see it. I'm like, yeah, let me see what's up with this. This is actually nice. Anyway, let me inhale the devil's leaf, right? So let's get real satanic and devilish and demonic. Let's go to the chambers that people don't want you to see, right? Let me start revealing things I probably shouldn't say. But I say it because it's just not going to get said any other way, and the chaos that comes behind it, I have to stabilize it, right? So do not believe that I get to say whatever I want. All of this chaos that I manifest, I have to stabilize the shit, right? Because I'm putting it out in the universe, right? So I get the reverb. But that's why most people get fucked up, right? They even talk about this in the dark side of the force. For those Star Wars fans, so I'm not just, this is not just me saying anything. The philosophy of the Siths. If you have read the philosophy of the Siths, and I know most people haven't, it was discovered that when you are activated and active in the dark side, the force it has this tendency to strike back. When you go deeper into the dark side, the force has a tendency to strike back. That is within the realms of the dark side. So meaning, there's always going to be energy that snaps back at you, but can you stabilize it? So it becomes a bad or a good thing depending on if you're able to stabilize it. But in order to stabilize something, you have to recognize it as a part of yourself. So you can't look at, oh, this is a spirit, this is a demon, this is something outside of me. No, it's not. You summoned it, you created it, so you must tame it. But people are not working with spirits in that way, I guarantee you. People are way too spiritual to be working with real spirits. Imagine that. So, yeah, see, now the alcohol is talking. Now the alcohol is talking. People are too spiritual to be working with real spirits. Imagine that. Because most people who are spiritual, they ain't working with real spirits. They're not, and they're not creating spirits. All right. All right. Let's go deeper. That's why I show you all this stuff, right? Am I too ashamed to show you the devil's leaf? Nope. That's why I put all this on camera. Why? Like, I'm showing you, like, yo, most people ain't about to do this shit on camera. Even if they do it, I'm showing you, like, okay, everything has a cost, right? If I really want to go deeper into this shit, then you have to ingest drugs. Now, is everybody a drug addict? No. You should probably leave drugs alone if you're not prepared to deal with your shadow, which is why what we see from drug addicts, right? They are not able to stabilize their shadow because they don't understand what's going on here. If you activate drugs, it's going to activate dimensions of you that you're probably not familiar with, that you're probably not prepared for, because you have to be all encompassing. Imagine trying to pray to God and the devil appears. What are you going to do? What do you do when you pray to God and the devil comes and tells you that the God that you're praying to is a false God? Like, oh, that's just the devil. The devil is a lie, right? That's the devil lying to you. But I ain't read one lie from the devil. Anything attached to the devil, whether it's in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all these holy books, with the so-called devil speaking, I ain't heard one goddamn lie. I ain't heard one goddamn lie. It's just the cost that comes with it was unexpected. For example, if we go back to the story of Adam and Eve and the serpent told Eve what was up. They just didn't know that they was going to get thrown out of the garden for it. But there was no lies told. Because through that experience of getting kicked out, because the part of the story that the Bible doesn't tell you that Raziel, Archangel Raziel, the name that I came under, right? I came as Raziel. Raziel retrieved the Book of Secrets and gave it to Adam after they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. That's not in the Bible, but it's in the Torah, right? So you got to read the Torah to even get that part. Meaning, the other angels was like, okay, yeah, kick this motherfucker out. Kick Adam out. Let this motherfucker suffer. It was only Raziel that retrieved the Book of the Secrets because it would have been lost in the sea somewhere. Because the angels just threw the book, like, all right, well, Adam doesn't need this. Fuck it. He's a fucking demon now. He's a savage. He's human now. What the fuck he need this book for? They tossed it somewhere in the ocean. It was retrieved by Raziel. Then God pretty much didn't stop it. God just let this shit happen, and the angels like, what the fuck? So, because when Raziel retrieved the book, the angels are thinking, all right, God is going to smack that shit out of his hand. But God just let this shit happen. God just like, all right, give it to Adam. So they was like, what the fuck? So, of course, after reading shit like that, I'm like, that's why I resonate with the energy. So that's why I came as Prince Raziel, right? I'm like, I resonate with that. That's me. That's exactly what the fuck I do, right? This is what I've been doing, right? I'm going into the deep waters, retrieving the secrets that everybody else tried to bury and make you forget existed. And I'm reminding you of, oh, these secrets actually do exist. I mean, that's all I fucking do, right? That's just me living up to the name. So even though I may not go by that name, I still live out that energy. Because you can say that's one of my many names. Because Amun Asha Renew just means God of many names, right? For those who don't know, my name just means God of many names. So that's why I've came in different attributes. Just to show you that I live out multiple attributes, right? As we all should, because we are multiple, as we say, personalities. But do you really know your multiple personalities? People be calling that like bipolar, but maybe it's natural to be bipolar because when I was studying the clip off, it seems the god of the clip off is a twin god. So what the fuck is that? So this so-called bipolarness that people suffer from, to me, I'm like, wait, that's actually clip off it. Because the god of the clip off is twin. It's a dual god. So what's really going on here? Anyway, matches, right? Bong. The bong allows you to put some water in it. That's why I'm using the bong. All right, all right. And this was like the absolute last time I could have actually did this live stream. That's why I did it at this time, because I literally have to be to work. I got to get up at 3 in the fucking morning. I'm like, if I don't do it right now, we're just not going to be done. And we going to have to wait a whole another fucking week. But again, I'm like, I just got to get the schedule right. I just got to figure out what time. And then y'all going to see a lot more of me. I just got to figure out what time and just put in that consistency. Cause it was just impossible to do that. You know, when you live with other people, they always got some ridiculousness going on, right? That you don't know anything about. So you really don't know what the fuck is going on. You know, when you dealing with other people, you in a household with other people, they can have any type of shit going on. Well, when you control your own space, now it's like, all right, ain't shit going on until I make it happen. So I just had to choose an appropriate time to reveal certain things. I guess the time will be dependent on what is being revealed. But again, that's neither here nor there. We don't have to take up too much time. I'll figure that out. Let's get back to the chambers, because the title of this video is Unlocking New Chambers and Dimensions. If you really want to unlock new chambers and dimensions, as we have been speaking about here, you have to go into the world of distastefulness. You have to deal with the attributes of yourself that are distasteful. Meaning, most people like to focus on their best attributes instead of their worst attributes or their bad attributes. As we know, each sign has positive and negative qualities. We know when you're dealing with the dark side of the force. Damn, my eyes is God, fucking eyes is red as like, oh shit. I feel my eyes get red instantaneously like that. That's crazy. Anyway, see, that's why I'm not even looking at the camera. I'm like, So what's going on is, when we're talking about going into the distastefulness, it just seems counterintuitive because we're not used to hearing stuff like that. But again, this is why people like Aleister Crowley is called the wickedest man in the world, right? This is why he was getting hated on, because all he was dealing with is the distastefulness. Again, that's why he channeled Pan. Pan was one of the main deities that was channeled by Aleister Crowley, for those who are familiar with the literature. Pan is a main component. One of the main books of Pan, Book of Lies. If you really want to know the secrets of Pan, Book of Lies. That's me giving you the literature, right? So once you read the book of lies, and then you like, oh, this is who Pan is. This is what it means to be all encompassing. That's why Pan, again, it represents the ugliness. That's what the goat represents. That's what the Baphomet represents. That's what the so-called devil represents. It just represents the ugliness of human nature. That's all it is. It just represents the ugliness of who and what we are. So while everybody's trying to be divine, everybody's trying to be godly, everybody's trying to be saintly, everybody's trying to be like Christ, the so-called Satanists, the so-called Luciferians, they're just focused on the ugliness, aka the unconsciousness, aka the shadow. Because even according to Carl Jung, which is a psychologist, your magical components, your magical abilities are stored within your shadow. So to even unlock your magical qualities, you have to deal with your shadow. There's no way around it. And that's not coming from a magician, that's coming from a psychiatrist. He recognized the magical qualities of the shadow. Like, when you actually begin to integrate with the shadow, it actually, your synchronicities begin to increase. And I'm not just talking about seeing number patterns and you don't know what angel numbers, as people call them. I'm like, nah. I'm not talking about little shit. Synchronicity that like, okay, you able to, you're seeing multiple dimensions come together in a way that you're like, okay, this has to be written. There's no way just random pieces came together and this happened. Like, no, this was like, this had to be predestined. Is those type of situations. Like, no, this had to be predestined. There's no way air just came together with certain particles and I just so happened to be sitting at this location that this happened. Like, no, this wasn't just science or nature. No, like this is a consciousness manipulating shit. You're like, oh, shit is being manipulated. There's no way this is just happening by just randomness or chance, as we call it, or fortune. Remember, we have a bunch of fortune tellers in these days. We have a bunch of fortune tellers, people who just pondering on what could happen, what may happen. But as we see, there's laws that are deeper than fortune. There's laws that are deeper than chance. One of those laws is a law of reversal, right? Which also unlocks magical qualities, right? So it seems like the way to be magical is you facing the darkness within yourself. Then that's when the demon becomes the angel. And now it's like there really is no difference between the two. It's no longer a war against light and dark. The light is the dark is the light. You're no longer like, okay, these are two separate things that they need their own separate space. You see how one influences the other. That's the whole the yin yang or the yin yang symbol, as we know. The yin yang, the yin yang. It's the play of the two forces. They influence each other. And through their play with each other, that's how new energy is manifested. You can say magical energy, you can say it's new energy, energy that was not calculated or accounted for. Because that's what karma is. Karma essentially is you getting your just due. That's karma. Like everything is calculated. So for something to be magical, now you're going beyond calculation, which is fortune, which is chance, right? Because again, we know about fortune, we know about chance, but this is all calculation. Magical qualities, magic is going beyond the calculations. Now we're dealing with real tarot. Now we're dealing with the real accord. Now you're not just dealing with fortune and chance, what could or may happen. Now you look at these as living entities. Like, oh, these are not just cards. These are living beings. Each card is living. This energy is alive. Outside of myself and also inside of myself. These energies are alive in my consciousness. That's why you can say certain cards in the tarot, or you can say misfortunate or dark or bad, however you want to label them, right? We have the darker cards. However, we know that each darker card also has a light side. So just because you see that dark card doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly what it represents. Just because you see a light card, every light card has a dark side. So just because you see the light doesn't mean that it's absent of the darkness. Remember, everything is all encompassing. So you're not taking anything on face value. You're not looking at the surface of anything because you know everything is all encompassing. Every light has dark qualities, so even the dark has light qualities. So even if you get a dark card, every dark card has light qualities. You're like, okay, am I looking at the darkness, the apparent dark, or am I seeking the light within the dark because I know that exists too? You see, this is a way of living. This is not a study. Some people treat it as a study. This is just a philosophy to some people. But if you really take this to heart, this is a way of life. This is why you don't complain about things. What makes you not complain is because you see the light within the darkness. You're like, okay, it don't matter how dark any situation may appear, there's always sparks of light. And I can magnetize those sparks of light and make even the most dire situations beneficial. And now something that was looked at as a trial becomes an opportunity because of your shift in consciousness. You transform from within. You can say the outside didn't change. What changed was the inside. Then once the inside changed, and that's when the outside begins to change because now you're approaching things from different angles. It's all mathematics. Now you begin to move at different angles. Everybody's movement is based on angles, geometry. That's why posture matters, right? A person's posture matter. Things you can say as we call body language. This is why body language matters. All of these things that happen right in front of us matter because that's information that's being taken in and calculated subconsciously. You may not be thinking about all these things consciously, but subconsciously, all of this information is being recorded. Now it ain't just what a person is saying. Now you're listening at the tone in which it's being spoken. Like, okay, I'm not just listening to the words, I'm also listening to the tone in which the words are being spoken in. Why did you choose that tone to say those particular words? What is it about that particular frequency that made you feel like that was the best frequency to synchronize your words into to make your intent clear? See, now you're beginning to peel back the layers of things, and you see like, okay, things are not just one dimensional. If I'm just taking things on face value, I'm actually missing the point of everything that's going on because we're just listening at the words people say, and we're not reading the body language. And we're not studying the unspoken language, then you're going to be manipulated and deceived by everybody you come into contact with. Because most people are putting on a performance and because they don't have a moral code, right? Just because people are successful, just because people have money, don't mean they have a moral code. So people are willing to do any and all things to receive things. So people are, you can say, very witty with words. People learned very young in human evolution that words used correctly can be very convincing. Where a lie can seem like the truth. People live their whole life in this fashion, making lies appear true. That's essentially what scammers are, right? It's a lie that appears to be true. And we know this is how most people get down because we are literally taught this. You can say this is the American way. This is just business 101, right? Because once we get past the emotionalism, the only thing that's left is the you can say the earth element, which is understanding numbers. Most people don't understand numbers. As we know, numbers, because we know about numerology, we know that numbers are actually whole dimensions. There's multiple layers within that one number. If you're just taking that one number on face value, you don't really know what that number is, because as we know, numbers are vast, especially when you're studying the numbers that you're surrounded by all the time. As we know, we talk about house numbers. You're like, okay, when you study the events that occur in your life and you know that, okay, this has something to do with my house number because I'm charged by this energy. This energy is like an anchor to the events that transpires. Like, okay, so like, you're not being taught that in school. Like, oh, how you can really use numbers to position yourself properly. We're just taught the bare minimum of numbers, which is again how to count and how to keep track of things, as we call accounting. That's as far as they go with numbers. They teach you accounting, and numbers are translated into measurements, and that's how things are built and processed. But in terms of on a metaphysical level, on an occult level, we're not taught the occult usage of numbers, how numbers can be used to your advantage, because you know what numbers to use in what situations at what times. That's why it's called perfect timing, right? Perfect timing is not just you being at the right place at the right time. This is you creating the right place at the right time. So again, this is magic. Magic is putting in an element that didn't exist previously. So now you're putting a new energy into the world versus you're just relying on energy that already exists. Remember, this is the two different creation stories. You got the Big Bang theory, then you have I think it's called the solid state theory. I don't think it's a certain. It's been certain. It's been different terms depending on what historical reference you're using. But let me give you the two angles, because based on what you believe, you can see how this transpires into how you think about everything in life. If you believe in the Big Bang Theory, you basically believe in the energy that exists now has always existed. This universe that we exist in is the same energy. The same energy that was present at the Big Bang is the same energy now. It just is expanding. So, in the Big Bang Theory, you're basically, things are always expanding. So basically, things are getting further and further apart. Planets are getting further apart. Stars are getting further apart because everything is expanding. It's a constant expansion of those same energies that were present at the time of the Big Bang. But the steady state theory says that new energy actually fills in the gaps of the expansion. So everything remains the same distance from each other, right? That's the difference. So things are expanding, but it's energy that's filling those gaps. So if the sun is 93 million miles from the sun, if the earth is 93 million miles from the sun, then in the steady state theory, it's going to always be that distance from the sun. Even with the expansion, there's new energy being manifested to fill in those gaps. So it's always the same space, it's always the same distance. Those are the two angles. Either it's the same energy expanding or new energy is being filled into the universe, which is we call the magical quality. The whole purpose of the occult or alchemy, whatever you want to call it, is accessing the magical quality. Well, the magical quality is in alignment with the steady state theory that new energy is filling in the gaps so that the spaces remain stabilized. So, in an ever expanding universe, that distance has to remain the same. The Earth has to be 93 million miles. And again, this is if you believe in the globe theory, the flat Earth, of course, feels the sun is a lot closer than 93 miles. So, it just, again, personal preference. So, if it's new energy being generated, and we are generators of energy because we are, we're able to produce new life. So if you're able to produce life, you're able to generate energy. It's just that most people don't focus on generating energy, they focus on producing life. That's why, people have children. And, that's such a special thing. The babies are the greatest. People put a lot of energy into the children, right? Because we are able to produce, we are able to create. But very rarely is the energy put into generating energy because now that becomes, you can say, the tantric science. Now you got to get into tantra. If we're just talking about purely generating energy, like, okay, well, what is the best method of just purely generating energy? Now you have to go into the tantric path, which in 93 is called sex magic. Now your sexual experiences have to become magical. Now it's not just okay. I have the ability to produce a child, or I have the ability to produce children. I'm also able to generate energy that can be directed. AKA, I'm able to generate new energy that didn't exist previously, and then direct that energy into the universe, which is essentially what's already happening on a macrocosmic level anyway. So we're just doing what's already occurring, which is again generating energy. But as we know, a lot of people don't like generating energy because, as we know, most of that energy is, you can say, directed towards work. People got to work their 40 hours, 40 plus hours, 50 plus hours. People have all type of, responsibilities on a physical plane. So most of that energy gets directed towards their responsibilities. So essentially, they're limited. But again, that's because most people are not tantric. Most people are not sex magicians, right? Most people are not porn stars, right? People don't have porn star abilities like that, right? That's not just something you're just going to run into haphazardly, right? However, that should be the lifestyle that we live in terms of our ability to generate energy purely on a magical level. So we're all, you can say, engaged in sexual activity, whether it's just with yourself or with another person or multiple people, whatever your situation may be. We're all engaged in in the sexual arena, some form of fashion. They're like, okay, this is not just for me to have a orgasm or an ejaculation. This is not to go to a finish line. You can say, okay, well, there is no finish line. This is like, well, how much energy can you actually generate? Most people ain't even asking themselves that question. Well, how much energy can I actually generate? I mean, okay, there is no, okay, I'm trying to get to this point. No, what is the point? If there is a point at all. See, now it becomes a whole nother arena of like, okay, I am actually a generator and I can generate energy. Well, how much energy can I actually generate? The only way for you to know how much energy you can actually generate is to experiment. Like, okay, I have to find that out. You may not just know that off the top of your head. You may have to conduct experiments. This is the tantric way. This is why this stuff is. People can talk about positive energy all they want, manifestation all they want, spiritual, alchemy all they want. They ain't talking the tantric science, which is the forbidden shit, right? Because you're not supposed to know, like, oh, I am a generator. I can actually put new energy into this universe. That's actually how I'm going to be able to create my reality, which is basically my energy. How to how my energy is able to infiltrate into this world and stabilize in this world. This is going to be based on how much energy I can generate, not how hard I can work, how many businesses I can create, all the stuff that most people are comparing it to. It's a simple activity of how much energy can you generate. The more energy you can generate, the bigger your reality becomes. You expand because you're actually generating the energy that's expanding the universe. You are expanding, you're doing the same thing the universe is doing already. The issue becomes that's why we have to go into the mysteries of Pan. The issue becomes now you begin to engage, and as we know, anybody who has watched pornography, there is some very strange shit, stuff that you can't unsee. Like, yo, I didn't even know people was into this type of stuff. It's like there's very strange sections, just like even YouTube. There's very strange section of YouTube. Like, how is this even on YouTube? One of those strange sections is naked yoga. You can type in naked yoga, you're going to see naked women, you're going to see titties, you're going to see ass, you're going to see pussy. You're like, yo, this is YouTube. YouTube doesn't allow that type of videos. However, there's a stipulation within the rule book of YouTube that if it's done in the means of education, they let it go. Just like you can see a baby being born on YouTube. Of course, the baby is coming out of a vagina, so of course you're seeing that. Because that's done in the realm of education, it's allowed. That also affects me a lot. Majority of the time, why YouTube doesn't censor me and I'm allowed to speak this shit because it's in the realm of education. Imagine that. It's simply because I'm in the realm of education that I'm even allowed to go beyond, right? I can say certain things that other people can't say. Remember, you see people is getting banned for the most ridiculous shit on YouTube, right? You said I didn't say way worse shit than the average YouTuber. They getting strikes and all type of shit. I've never had a strike because it's been in the realm of education. I'm able to bend the goddamn rules. So that's why I'm able to like I kind of feel comfortable. I'm like there's really the only thing that was like the only time I got a strike or anything was when COVID and medical shit. I was going crazy with the medical stuff. They're like, "Are you going too far?" Other than that, though, as we see, it's been a whole decade and we haven't had any problems thereof in terms of like okay, you can't say that because it's in the realm of education. I can it is what it is, right? So I can get away with anything. That's why I've been getting away with all the stuff. And We're going to continue to get away with it because we bend the rules. The whole this whole channel was bending the damn rules. I'm showing you. Look how much I can bend this shit, and then nothing happens because it's in the realm of education. Imagine that. The law actually protects me, and now allow freedom of speech is actually real. But then we see a lot of other people, they getting hit with all type of shit. But because I'm infamous, because I'm not famous, because I'm infamous, I can get away with all type of shit that nobody else can get away with. Because I chose the infamy. And I'm like, okay, I'm not. Let me not worry about the numbers and try to get huge because now I'm actually limiting myself. Because now I can. It's easy for shit to get real crazy as we see with the bigger channels. I'm like, because my channel is a little smaller, it's really anything goes here, right? And that's essentially what we have been doing the whole time. Like, yo, anything goes. We're going to say whatever comes to mind. We're not going to limit anything. We're not going to add any type of filters. And that's exactly what's been going on. And we have been successful in our undertakings as we see we have become 93, right? We have merged in consciousness. And as we see, it becomes more and more advanced. Am I talking about the same stuff I was talking about 10 years ago? Absolutely not. I've done all the experimentations necessary. Now I'm speaking from a level of, okay, this experiment has been conducted. These are the results. Now let's add to the equations. We got a bunch of experiments with results. Now we have to come in, okay, we have to merge what works together in a sequence that makes sense, a mathematical sequence that makes sense to get continuous results, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it's about results. So if we're talking about activating a magical quality, of course you want to be able to see results. Well, your results will be based on your ability to generate energy. So that's the whole science of Tantra. That's the whole science of, you can say, pornography. That's why a lot of people, you got things like no flap, people become addicted to porn and all that. People, it's a lot of energy that's like anti-porn, right? Because it changes people. What do I mean by it changes people? As I said earlier, you begin to see very strange things. And when you begin to explore these strange things, you will find yourself liking some of these very strange things. Like, oh, I didn't even know I liked that, but until I saw it. Like, oh, now that I've seen this, it's like, that's very interesting. Again, as I was saying earlier about pain, now you are exploring the ugliness. Like, yo, I really like some shit that people will probably find disgusting. You can say, oh, that's a quality about yourself. Like, oh, there can be some people that you can say some people are into like foot fetishes, for example, right? Where somebody else would just look at feet as like, yo, these are just smelly things that people put in shoes. Some people would not understand. You say, what the fuck is the point of a foot fetish? Like, it doesn't. Some people don't sexualize a foot. A lot of people like, yo, a foot is a foot. There's nothing to be sexualized about it. But then some people are able to sexualize a foot. Now it becomes a foot fetish, and you can say anything can be fetishized, essentially, right? Any body part, anything. So going back to just the tantric experience and why tantra is forbidden, because it is a forbidden. Again, you just can't go and learn this stuff even from the place it was created. You're not gonna go to India and like people are just ready to teach you tantra. They're they don't really want anything to do with it because it's just so opposite of religion. It's so opposite of tradition. It's like, yo, they don't know tantra. Tantra, just like you can say pimping and hoeing, we just have to bring that shit up, don't we? Because they say there's no age to this. This has been going on since the beginning of time, right? They say pimping, hoeing, going on since the beginning of time. Okay. Well, the same thing could be said about tantra. That has been going on. There is no birth to tantra. They don't know when the fuck this shit started. It's always been here. There is no age. It's always been in this bitch. You can say they just call it Tantra in the East. In the West, we just call it with hoism, pimpism. But it's the same thing though. Just different terminology, same results. And both of these have no beginning. They have just always been a part of human nature. They've just always been there. There's always been hoes, always been pimps, always been these underworld people that we're supposed to hate, and they're just the most disgusting thing on the planet. Right? But they've always existed nonetheless. Regardless of how people feel about these activities, they have always been a part of human nature. And there's actually a science behind it. So it's not like something like, okay, somebody just stumbled upon something and they don't know what's going on. It's actually a lifestyle that is continuous, meaning it will always exist. These things will always exist. Basically, sex, magic, tantra, hoism, pimpism. These things will always exist. There's no ridding life of these things that, again, most people consider ugly. It's the same thing with pornography. A lot of people will feel like the world would be a better place if pornography didn't exist. People feel like that. If pornography didn't exist, the world would be a better place. They tired of the kids having access to it. It's like, oh, it's too easy to access. Well, unfortunately, it just like there's no way to, again, unless you like completely shelter a child from technology. That's it. Ain't even that they have to be seeking it out. See, this is the thing about that. It's like you like it. It will find you. It's like it's a living intelligence that finds you because like you may not even know what's going on, but it may be an advertisement, for example. You may just click an ad. You just did a Google search, you accidentally hit an ad, and now all these things are just exposed to you. Like, yo, I wasn't even looking for this, but here it is. That's really how it happens because you wouldn't know what to look for until it comes to you really. Like, how would you even know what to look for if you have no idea what that is? But it will find you because it's just a part of the internet. Porn has existed on the internet since the internet has been in existence. We cannot deny this fact. This is essentially the whole point that I'm making. Like, this has always been a part of the internet. So essentially, when you open yourself up to the internet or whoever opens themselves up to it, there is a very good chance that you will be exposed to these things because it's always been a part of the internet. It's nothing new, it's really nothing old. It has always been. It actually is the reason why the internet is as advanced as it is. The most advanced technology you can say is on porn sites. This has always been the case. This has always been the case. It's just, of course, are people going to talk about this type of stuff? Of course not. Are they going to talk about how porn pushed the internet to the level it's on? Are they going to talk about the views that it gets? Porn gets more numbers than most websites. The only websites that probably do more numbers than porn is like YouTube and Google. It's only a couple websites. But if you look at the top 10 websites, one of those websites is a pornography website. If you look at the top 10, what is like what Pornhub or X videos, whatever it is, right? It's there. And it will always be there, and it ain't no getting rid of it. It just is what it is, right? People feel however they feel about it, but it's their lack of knowing their own shadow that they see that as a problem, right? It's really not a problem unless you're not willing to accept the ugliness of human nature. That's what I mean by because this tantric element has existed as we see, it has pushed people to very strange places, right? Once you expose yourself to certain things, it puts you to very strange places. You're like, yo, how? You're like, yo, how is this even a thing? But it is a thing. You just didn't know till you knew. And because you know, I'm like, okay, people are actually, this is more than just recording an act on camera and putting it out to the public. That's just the face value of it. Because what's actually going on is a generation of new energy. New videos are being uploaded every single day of people doing tantric activity or what they would consider tantric. It's happening every single day at a rate that you wouldn't really believe, even if you had the evidence right in front of you. Because it's like, yo, is the tantric energy really this powerful? And the answer is yes. It's literally pulling us into the future. That's why 93 is futuristic, because it's based in sex magic. Tantra is based in the future. Pornography has pushed the internet into the future. Do we not see the patterns here? Whenever you're dealing with that magical quality, it pushes you into the future. So, in order for you to be futuristic, you must live a tantric life, which is essentially at the core of it is being able to generate energy and being able to properly direct this energy that you are generating through your sexual experience with yourself or with others. This is essentially what it comes down to. Why? Because people do these things anyway. They just don't have the intent behind it. They don't realize, like, okay, instead of doing this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you're like, how long could I actually go if I actually tried to fuck till exhaustion? We're just going to be plain and clear. How long could I go if I just fucked till exhaustion? Not until I have an orgasm, which is what finishes most people. Till exhaustion. How much energy will that require from you? And do you have the necessary energy to generate? Or the necessary will? It's about your true will. Do you have the necessary will to generate the energy required for you to do the things that you truly want to do in life? Everything, as we know, has a price. Everything has a cost. The cost is energy. If you don't have the energy, you're not able to generate anything in this life. So before you even have action, you have to have energy. So the more energy you have, not only are you going to have more action that can also be directed towards a mental plane, it could also be directed into the spiritual plane. So the more energy you have, of course, you're going to be able to do more physically, mentally, spiritually. It's just that our body is a body of habit. So you can say most people generate, you can say the same amount of energy that they know that they're going to need every day. So if you know, like, okay, I'm going to need 12 hours because I'm going to have to work this 12-hour shift, 16-hour shift, 8-hour shift, 6-hour shift, whatever shift this is. Your body already knows that ahead of time and it generates the necessary energy for you to get through the day. But that's why you know most people are grumpy and most people even complain. That's just a lack of energy. If we just peel back all the layers of confusion, it all comes down to a lack of energy. Because if you had the energy, there would be no point in complaining. You have the energy. You're not tired. You're not exhausted. You're not like, oh, I'm tired of this. There is no tired when you have energy. But again, most people are not generating or over generating so that you actually can do things on a pan level that makes you pan, all encompassing. I am all encompassing. I'm not just generating energy for the physical experience. I'm also generating energy for the mental experience. I'm not just generating energy for the mental experience. I'm also generating energy for the spiritual experience. You become thrice great, right? So that's why I always have to bring up the forbidden, the not so much talked about, the stuff that is uncomfortable to talk about because that's pan. This has to be accepted in order to be all encompassing. It says it also in the book of the law. Love, do not love one thing more than another thing. Don't love, you can say, peace and hate war. Because in times of war, you're going to be discombobulated. And then in times of peace, you're going to get too comfortable. But when you have a love for peace, but you also have a love for war, now you can say, I can actually benefit in the time of war. We are in the time of war, right? We was talking about that earlier. So instead of looking at this as a dark ass time, as most people look at it, this is a grim time. You know, there's a lot of deaths going on. There's a lot of chaos going on. Well, when you are a lover of war, you are able to find opportunities even in times of war. May sound a little heartless, may sound a little harsh, but this is what happens every day nonetheless. People make money off of war, off of death, off of necromantic energies, bodies, as we call them, right? Why do you think rap is always talking about bodies? How many bodies, or the potential of death, or just death anyway, right? What is this obsession with death? It is a currency, right? It's a currency. Magical energy is generated from this currency. How do we know that? Because at the time of a orgasm, we know that's a magical moment. Depending on what your intent is at the time of orgasm, it becomes very powerful. So there's a magical quality because you get a touch of bliss or at the peak of an orgasm is, you can say, bliss, the most blissful state you can achieve. You can say in the physical state, which is a magical quality. And in that moment, you're able to generate magic, or as we call it, make magic. People call it make love, but it should be properly termed make magic because now you're just being honest with what's actually going on. And we're just not trying to be religious and follow the status quo. We are magical beings. We're more than lovers. We are magical generators. We are responsible for our own well being. So the fountain of youth will be in your ability to generate energy. While most people thinking it's diet, while most people thinking it's exercise, you can exercise all the fuck you want to. You can have the perfect diet all you want to. If you're not able to generate new energy, it's all for nothing. But again, I'm able to say these things because I'm not really pushing any products on you, you know? I don't really have an alternative motive. So I can just say what it is. It doesn't hurt my business, right? I don't even promote my business, right? It's like it's infamous, right? It's if you know, you know. If you don't, then you don't. Fuck it. Nonetheless, it exists, but it's not really in the open because it's not supposed to be. right? So even though you should live a tantric life, even in the book of the law, it said basically use finesse. Meaning, even if you're the type of person that's going to sleep with a different person every night, you use finesse. Meaning, you don't be, as we call in today's terms, you're not messy, where shit is just overlapping with other shit. You know how to keep things compartmentalized. If you can do that, then who it doesn't matter what you're doing on a day-to-day basis because everything is compartmentalized. So if it's one partner or seven fucking partners, it's compartmentalized. That's the whole purpose. Can you compartmentalize your tantric experiences? Not just the people, just what you are unlocking when you're directly exposing yourself to the magical quality of life, which is the most potent energy in the universe. You're exposing yourself to the most potent energy. That's why we call it Kundalini. That's why your Kundalini activates your consciousness, right? That's you exposing yourself to the magical quality, the most potent force in existence. So, of course, people are going to want to have an orgasm within minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. That you could say that's like the typical time that people engage in sexual activity. It may be like up to 30 minutes. People are doing it, I guess whenever they have time to. It's more of an exercise. It has become more of an exercise than a ritual. Because when it's ritualistic, now you're bringing in the deity. Now you're bringing in magical qualities. Now you're bringing in again, you're tapping into the subconscious and the unconscious. We know the unconscious is filled with the archetypes. Pan is a archetype, a unconscious archetype. That's what mythology is. Mythology is just the archetypes. These things predate the physical world. This is a consciousness thing. Pan is a archetype, a universal archetype. We can compare it to, you could say, the energy of Capricorn. A lot of Capricorns are known to be like asshole-ish. They really, their manners is just not there. And I'm not speaking bad on them, but these are just very, they're ruled by Saturn. And Saturn, again, is Saturn represents responsibility, it represents discipline, it represents structure, building things long term. But it also is is a malefic energy as well. It's a malefic planet, so it comes with karma. So basically, it's like a cop. You know how cops have a certain type of vibe. You can say that's like a Capricorn, right? The security guards of the world, the cops of the world, people who basically just just give you problems for no reason if your energy is incorrect. Because as you know, just because a person is a cop or just because they're a guard doesn't mean they're going to give you that assholish energy unless your energy is off. Because if your energy is on, the cops don't bother you. They don't bother you, right? It's when your energy is off. Now you're basically food. Anyway, saying all this to say, 93, you can say this is it's a tantric library. That's all it is. It's just a reminder of the tantric life because everything has been covered up. Let me say that in a different way. The real lifestyle has been covered up with a bunch of bullshit. Now, people are out here trying to be lawyers, doctors, and citizens in a civilized world. When the Nate, when the how do I say this? The proper function of human nature is to be tantric. That is the proper function of human nature. We are naturally tantric. But when you add religion on top of it, and you add the culture that comes with that, that destroys it. Now we believe everything that's, for example, we look at people who are promiscuous. We look down on these people. The average person does because they're religious. They don't like these type of people. They talk behind these people's back, right? They're like, oh, these people are hoes, these people are sluts, whatever, male or female, right? On a deeper level, you could say it's a reminder of just the ugliness of human existence. What do I mean? It's called lust. You can say lust is very ugly, right? It gets people in very peculiar situations, now doesn't it? Your lust can lead you and put you in very strange predicaments. For anybody who has followed their lust, they know exactly what that is. Like, oh, this can put you in very strange predicaments. This is why they call, these things like the seven deadly sins and all that. Pride and gluttony and greed, so on, sloth, so on and so forth, anger, jealousy. Because these things can put you in very peculiar situations that's very hard to get out of. Meaning, when you look at most people who's in jail, most people who are in mental institutions, most people who are confined in some type of confinement, where they don't control their own life, is because of an unconscious force that was activated and they didn't know how to properly handle it. Because if they knew how to properly handle it, it would have been handled properly. That's why people can get away with murder. Then some people get caught. Does everybody get caught? No. But some people do, some people don't. That goes for anything. Some people are getting away with things and some people are not getting away with things. What's the difference between the person that's getting away and the person that's not getting away? It's the same action. Why does one person get caught and the other person doesn't? As what I mean by caught is apprehended by the law. Why does one person get caught and another person doesn't? It's deeper than meets the eye. I'll tell you that much. It's deeper than meets the eye. Because it's a code to how certain things should be done. As we call, you can say the code of the streets, the G code, whatever you want to call it. This is just a method of execution. Do things in a manner in which does not get you apprehended by the law. You can say that's the number one rule of any gang or any underworld activity. You want to do things in a way that does not put you on the radar of the law. It can be done. It's done every day. So the whole thing is to not be apprehended by the law and face the consequences of your action. Well, what stops you from facing the consequences of your action? Because that's called karma, right? When you are facing the consequences of your action, we call that karma. So what we're talking about is the ability to supersede karma. What the fuck is that? What force is able to supersede karma? Is it chance? Is it fortune? Is it luck? No. It's magic. Magic supersedes all other laws. Because it's like, damn, that how the fuck did that happen? Is that not what hip hop produces? How the fuck did that happen? How do you get something like a King Von, a Pop Smoke, a Juice World? How the fuck did this shit happen? A Tupac? How the fuck did that happen? How was the atmosphere already there to receive these people? A Nipsey Hussle, right? It was an atmosphere ready for that. The only atmosphere that a person like that or people like that will be able to thrive in. What are these occult forces that we call hip hop? Because hip hop is a collection of occult forces. I'm just going to give you the plain definition. Hip hop is not even physical, it's a collection of occult forces. Right? There you go. This is, you can say, your Pluto. Everybody has a Pluto, everybody has a Neptune, everybody has a Uranus sign. These are your occult forces because you can say these are the forces that are consistent in the background. They are consistently in the background of your life versus the other planets are constantly changing, especially when you take into consideration that the chart progresses. So I'm not talking about your natal chart, I'm talking about your progress chart. You look at how your natal chart is progressing in real time, you're going to see the inner planets are progressing, they're changing signs. But those outer planets stay stabilized for a extended amount of time, right? Those outer planets remain consistent for an extended amount of time. So how would that not be your collection of occult forces when Uranus represents the Holy Spirit? Neptune represents, you can say, the depths. You can say that your darkness, your shadow. So you can say your angel is Uranus, your devils is Neptune. Then you go to Pluto, which is the result of the previous two. What happens when you know your holy guardian angel? What happens when you integrate your shadow? The result represents Pluto. Because anything Pluto touches, it changes, which is the goal. You want to integrate with your shadow for what result? To change your consciousness. You want to integrate with your holy guardian angel. Knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel. That is the goal of 93. Knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel, which will help you manifest your true will. It's the whole purpose of Delina. All right? So before we activate Pluto, we have to go through Uranus and Neptune. Meaning you have to integrate with the shadow, you have to integrate with the demons, you have to integrate with the angels. Right? So you see, this is all already in astrology. That's why I always use astrology as a reference and the tarot as a reference, because you see it don't matter how deep I go into psychology or metaphysics or mathematics, business, it all can be broken down and brought back to the occult. Because the occult is all encompassing. It's Kabbalistic. It's all encompassing. That's what the occult is. It's all encompassing. It is everything and nothing at the same time because the average person looks at this and they don't see the value of it. They don't see how it's everything. They don't see it how I see it. They don't see it how you see it because they're not supposed to. You can only see certain chambers as you unlock them because of your own work, because of your own energy that you summoned. So nobody else is going to understand it from your perspective because you were able to summon energy that they are afraid to summon. Which is, again, your darkness, your pan nature. Meaning, you may be a priest or priestess in the known world, but you have the potential to be in the underworld as the pimp or the hoe. That's what we must always keep in mind. You may be at the highest of the high. Everybody looks at you as a go-to guy, the go-to woman. You can say you can be in your angelic mode, but you still have the potential to activate that shadow. That's always there. People just choose not to integrate with it. Why? Because, like, what happens when I integrate the shadow? I'm angelic. Why would I want to integrate with the demons? I'm all the way in heaven. Why would I want to go to hell? Why do I want to play the role of Lucifer? So, of course, the average person's not going to do that. They're going to stay in heaven. They're going to stay with the angels. Why would I descend into the Neptunian waters? Why? Only an alchemist, only a cultist. Like, okay, that's just Uranus going into Neptune. That's just a necessary part of it. So while the average person trying to figure out why would I ever do that, you realize, okay, that's necessary. Then you're like, okay. Once you see, like, it ain't even could be, I am both. As much as I am the holy, I am the demonic. It ain't even that I'm one or the other, I'm both. I'm stabilized. I'm holy and demonic, satanic. But you don't hear those angles now, do you? Somebody that's is strictly satanic. You don't hear them being holy, but you're holy satanic. Imagine that. That shit, it just sounds like it ain't supposed to go together, but you see how it does. You holy in hell. You're in hell, life, but you're holy. See how that works? You're in life with all these fools, but somehow you maintain your holiness. How did you do that? Because otherwise, you wouldn't really care about anything I have to say if you have not maintained your holiness. Because all I'm speaking about is holy shit. Holy shit. You see how that works? The holy shit. Up and down. Not up or down, up and down. All right? Up and down. The deeper you go into hell, the greater your heights in heaven. The better your views in heaven. Imagine that. Your views in heaven get better as you descend deeper in hell. Imagine that. Imagine that. But that's really how this shit goes. That's really how this goes. That's what we saw with Brother Panic. He took us to the depths. Then when he made his departure, it was a grand celebration, right? A grand celebration. All encompassing. See how that works? When you live up to your name, you should die the same way. All people going to say, damn, they lived up to their name. That's why they say a name is better than gold. Did you live up to your name? Because if you did, then your mission is complete. You lived up to your name. What else are you really here to do but to live up to your name? To manifest your rank. So if you really are the master magician, it's only right that you manifest that. It's only right that you manifest your mastery on the face of this earth. Something you've been working on for several lifetimes. I'm convinced that this is not my first lifetime dealing with occultism. I'm like, there is no fucking way. that this is my first go around. Because it just seems like when I open up those chambers, it all seems like, oh, I've been here before. There's no way this is the first go around. I'm sure you feel the same way. There's no way this is first go around. Because you wouldn't even be here dealing with the darkness. You wouldn't even be ready to even handle that type of information if this is your first go around. You're actually pretty mature, as we call the old soul. You're really an older soul if you actually have gotten to the point where you're like, okay, I see that I have to be all encompassing. It ain't about choosing sides. It's all encompassing. I have to dig into the light and the dark. In all occasions. I mean, if I'm on the job, if I'm with friends, if I'm with family, if it's business, I have to dig into both worlds. Meaning you can't tie yourself into one character. You have to realize that you are multiple characters. You have the ability to be bipolar, twin-headed. All right. So if you are able to dual wield your weaponry, if that's what you're doing, if you're able to dual wield your weaponry, imagine the advantage that gives you when you know you can dual wield. So now you're not just a light being trying to hold this big ass saber, or because with Star Wars they had the lightsabers, right? The lightsaber was either blue or red. It was red if you was dealing with the dark side. It was blue if you was dealing with the Jedi, right? The light side. But what color forms when you combine red and blue? Red and blue produces what color? What color is produced when you mix red and blue? What is the result of red and blue? Because if we understand the mixtures, that's all alchemy is. Is alchemy not chemistry? Chemistry is understanding the mixtures and the results that come from mixtures. So if purple is a result of red and blue, that means it's possible for you to fuse the light and the dark. It's going to give you a result. The two becomes one. Does it not? The two becomes one. Hold on. The two becomes one. Is that not the fucking point? And anybody who's thinking the point is just to be fully demonic or fully angelic, you're like, all right, do that. But if we're talking about Pan, for those who really know Pan, and to be all encompassing, that means there's nothing that is above you. That's what it means. There is nothing above you. You're like, okay, I'm above that. I would never do something like that. But that may be the key to your magic. Imagine that. Imagine the key to your magical success being the very thing that you feel that you are above doing. Imagine that. But that's how it be though. That's why life is just this giant paradox of you going between the light and the dark. You're like, oh, it was never about choosing one or the other. It's about being both. What happens when you are a hero and a villain? All we see is a hero versus a villain. But what happens when a hero and a villain sees eye to eye? They form a dyad. We saw that in Star Wars. A person on the light side was connected with a person on the dark side. And they actually empowered each other in each other's presence. And especially in combat, the Dryad. I told you I'm into this philosophy of the Sith. I went deep into it. I'm like, oh, this is deeper than what most people even understand. They ain't even going this deep into it. You think they just made up this Sith shit? You think they just made up this Jedi shit? Like they just made like, let me figure some shit out. This is based on our science, just remixed to us in a form that's dumbed down, but it's enough for you to come to the real conclusion, which is what we're doing here. And that's why I say the dark side is necessary. If you're not studying 93, you're not really doing anything dark. That's why Aleister Crowley was called the wickedest man in the world, not the Western Hemisphere, not the Eastern Hemisphere, the world. Like, yo, this dude surpassed them all. He was greater than them all. You can say he was more wicked than them all. Because everybody else is focused on being saints, being holy, being angelic. Still to this day, is that not what people are doing? How divine they are? They were so focused on divinity and pay no mind to they all they do is cast away the demons, right? Negative energy, they cast that shit away. They don't want nothing to do with it. They're so positive and divine, they don't want nothing to do with negative energy, which is their own shadow. Your shadow generates negative energy. Imagine that. Your shadow generates negative energy. So magical energy is actually negative. Imagine that. How does that really process in your mind? Magical energy is negative energy. But we're being told, well, positive energy. Stay away from negative energy, you need positive energy. Well, the magical quality is in the negative. Well, we already know that to be true because the Kundalini is a feminine energy. Kundalini is feminine. Feminine energy is negative energy. But we're thinking that negative means bad. Negative just means feminine. Now, some people equate feminine with being bad, but feminine is actually, you can say, all encompassing. That's what the whole story of the Great Mother, right? The Great Mother predates all of the gods. You can say masculine energy is, you can say, a production or a creation of feminine energy. You can say the feminine energy is the womb, right? From the womb, you have the child. The child represents the masculine energy or the separation from the greater whole. The masculine represents the separation from the whole. But before you separate from the whole, you're the feminine, you're the all encompassing. That's why the universe is symbolized as a womb. The universe represents the all encompassing. So the all encompassing must be the feminine currency. As we, right? That's why women are the ones who have the babies, all right? We see this, we know that to be true already. So if Kundalini is feminine and the magical energy is feminine, and again, what I mean by feminine is not just woman, because we have this whole debate about like what is a woman. This is what politics is doing right now, because obviously you have a lot of transsexual women, and people just claiming to be a woman. They're like, okay, well, what makes a woman? Is it the biological factors, the mental factors, the spiritual factors? If you were to ask my opinion, a woman, just like a man, is more of a rank. It has nothing to do with biology or mental factors or spiritual factors. This is a rank. The same way with you don't call every male a man, right? You feel like a man is a title that has to be earned. In order for you to be a man, you can no longer be a boy, right? You have graduated from being a boy. That's a rank. Same thing with woman. You are no longer a girl. You have graduated to womanhood. You're no longer a boy. You have graduated to manhood. It's a rank. It's a position that a person plays. It was never nothing about gender or sex. We make it about that again because we just look at the physical plane and we think that's all there is. It's about rank. Because again, women are easy to do this right. He's not a real man if he don't meet up to certain qualities. You can strip that title. Like, okay, that's not him. All right, cool. It has to be earned then. So it works both ways. It has to be earned. It has nothing to do with the biology because again, it could be one man and one male. They both have dick and balls. But you call one a boy, you call one a man. It has nothing to do with age. It's like, okay, well, it's a mental thing, a spiritual thing, whatever you want to rank it as. We see that it's not about biology. Just because a person has dick and balls, you could say doesn't make him a man. It makes him a male, but it doesn't make him a man. Man has to be earned. That lets you know right there. It's not based on biology. Just because you have a set of balls doesn't make you a man, right? Just because you have ovaries doesn't make you a woman. Okay, now we made that. Some people like to stand on like, yeah, it actually is because I have ovaries. That is what make me a woman. Yeah, okay, well, everyone has their opinion, no problem. But if we want to be all encompassing, we're like, okay, it's actually beyond all that. That makes you a female. That doesn't make you a woman. It makes you a female. You got ovaries, that makes you female. You got balls, that makes you a male. Beyond male and female, man and woman rank. You earn. You have to earn that. Okay? You earn it. It's the same way in the court. Right? It's the same way in the court. You have to earn your position. It's earned. It's not given to you. You earn it. How do you earn it? Because you are willing to look at the ugliness. You're willing to look at the ugliness of yourself that we call Neptune, the unconscious mind, the shadow. The more you're able to accept your shadow, you evolve in rank because it actually has an effect on your consciousness. You will begin like, oh, the more you accept your shadow, you start to look at the world differently. You're like, all right, damn, the world is really just a bunch of people who have no control of their shadow. They just are unwilling to accept it, so they try to hide it, but it's like it's loud. To you that really have eyes, you're like, damn, I can really see this person's shadow. But they're really trying to pretend like it's not there, and I see it right there. Like I see people's shadow every day. I be seeing all the time, like, oh, this is my house. Like I see your shadow right there. Like I see what you all about. Like I see everything. Why? Because people can't contain it. But again, they're trying to push it. But it's like it's right there. Like I'm like, oh, if you got eyes, then you know. Meaning, as women, you can feel when a man is thirsty, right? I'm sure you get that. You get the energy frequently. You know when a man is thirsty versus when a man is full. you can tell the difference in energy. It's a difference in energy. What's the difference between a thirsty man or a full man? Energy level, rank. It's just that simple, right? Rank. Once you understand that that is the law of the universe, everything has to be earned. You don't deserve anything. Because, people have this sense of entitlement. When you kill that, like, okay, I'm not entitled to anything. Nobody owes me anything. Everything I have is based on what I earned with my own energy. And you're okay with that. It's not because I have a divine world ancestry. The world deserves to treat me differently. You're like, okay, fuck my ancestry. Not fuck the ancestors, but like I'm not gonna rely on my ancestry for special treatment. I hold my ancestors dear, but I also understand that they may give me special treatment, but the world doesn't owe me special treatment because of who my ancestors are. So once you have the mentality of the world owes me nothing, everything is earned, then you're applying that physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'm not guaranteed a mind. I have to earn a mind. So when you see stupid people out here, it's because they have not earned a mind. So when people do mindless things, it's because they simply don't have a mind. They didn't earn it. Your mind is a storehouse of intelligence, of information. So if you are not gathering information and intelligence at all times, then you have no mind. Meaning if all you're doing is responding to things, like your whole life is based on you responding to what happens instead of you creating what happens. So these things, I'm just speaking on it because this is energy. So the same way you earn rank in a company or a corporation, it's the same thing in the spirit world. That's why brother Panic would say things like, spirits can't even see most people because they don't have enough light. Meaning you have to have a certain amount of light to even be seen by spirits, even be acknowledged by spirits. So while you have all these people claiming to receive all this information and this downloads and this and that, you can best believe that they're not even seen by as they call the powers that be. The powers that be don't even see them. Because the so-called powers that be, because we see that we said these are the powers that rule over the world. Okay, well these are dark energies. These are, as we call, people that are on the dark side of the force, right? These are people on the dark side of the force. And if you are gathering your light from your darkness, which is what you are doing when you integrate with your shadow, you're going into the depths of your shadow to find the light within the dark. That's the whole purpose of integrating with the shadow because you understand that light is here. Within all this darkness, there is light. And when I understand the light within the darkness, now my shadow doesn't seem so much like a burden or something that I have to, keep contained in a box somewhere or try to show off. I can actually feel comfortable with this energy right next to me or right within me. And I don't feel like this is not me. And that's when people become bipolar, like, oh, I have this other personality that's not me. It actually is you, just a part of you that yeah, you can say it's kind of distasteful. There's just really no other way to say that. It's a part of you like, yo, that's kind of distasteful. Like, There's a part of you that's very distasteful. That's very anything that you can think of negative. There's a part of you that has those qualities. But even within those negative qualities, you have light. You have divinity. You can say even within the negative qualities. And I say that that's what hip hop is. So you can say even though hip hop is filled with all these, you can say characters in the underworld, they're able to produce light. The light is the music. They're able to produce music from this underworld, this shadow existence. They're able to produce light. You are able to produce light within this shadowy existence. And that's essentially that's the story of hip hop. We're producing light from darkness. That is our story. That's what we do. That's what makes us different than everybody else. They're not able to produce light. That's why they have to scam. That's why they have to manipulate. That's why they have to try to sell you things you don't need. But people actually need light. Light actually feeds the people. That's why good music actually feeds your soul, right? Good music is a very, fulfilling experience. And we know most artists have very dark lives. They live lives that most people don't live. This is what we understand. The lifestyle of an artist is not the lifestyle of somebody you can say working a 9 to 5. They're probably very promiscuous. Why? While the average person just has a boyfriend, a girlfriend, wife, husband. They're probably doing everything the average person is not doing, to the point where they're probably perceived negative. The average person is perceived positive. As we know, you are immersed. If you are an artist, you already know this. You're immersed in darkness, and you're producing light from being immersed in darkness. It's a very dark lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle that a person would probably pick. If you can just be a doctor or a lawyer and do something within the world, you probably would do that versus being an artist. Because being an artist, like, you actually have to work with these dark elements and find the light within the dark, which is not easy to do. We see how quick people's lives are snatched from their very hands. We see the deaths that are produced. People do great things and then it's snatched right away from them. So this is very very you could say dangerous energy to acquire, but it's absolutely necessary if you are going to break through the veils that keep us, you can say, enslaved, mentally, spiritually enslaved. So again, people don't have chains on, but people are still mentally and spiritually enslaved because again, they're still afraid of the darkness, demons, devils, jinns, and their shadow. The average person still is not just like, okay, I'm about to integrate my shadow, and whatever happens, happens. They do not have that mentality whatsoever because that changes you. You integrating with your shadow changes you. You are no longer the same person. Why? Because your shadow, you could say, is attracted to darkness. When you start doing darker things and engaging in darker activity, it has an effect on you. You can say, okay, you thought you was an angel, but now you're tainted because you're doing demonic activity. So you're still angelic, but now you're tainted. You're like, okay, I'm not. You can say you're not holy. Now you got a little bit of Satanism in you. How does that make you feel? How do you process that? Like, okay, now I'm just as satanic as I am holy. What do you do with that? Because then that opens you up to activities that you probably wouldn't do, whether this is physical, mental, or spiritual. This can be occurring on any one of the dimensions. Mostly this happens in dreams. So a lot of what I'm saying, you see a lot of this in your dreams because that's when you encounter your shadow. When people have nightmares and shit start weird, spooky shit start happening, that's you encountering your shadow. Because again, your shadow holds that magical quality. That's why nightmares and night terrors and all that spooky shit that be happening has such an effect on people. Like, yo, that was some crazy shit. Because that was a magical quality. It woke your ass up out of your sleep. That's just how magical it was. Like, damn, the shadow was fucking powerful. Woke my motherfucking ass up. Put me in a state that just made me like, yo, yeah, I'm still here. Meaning you can't get rid of me. You can try to deny me. You can try to act like I don't exist, but I'm going to terrorize you. Which essentially what leads to midlife crisis. When people have midlife crisis, that's just their shadow reintroducing themselves. Like, okay, you haven't got rid of me just because you became corporate, just because you have been successful in this world, just because you feel like you did everything you're supposed to do. I'm still here. There is no okay. I'm just gonna not be here. I'm not gonna exist. The shadow has been here and will be the whole fucking time. No beginning, no ending. Right? No beginning, no ending. So sooner or later, you can say most people integrate with the shadow when they die. Death. That's why people are afraid of death. What happens at death? You integrate with your shadow. If you want to know what happens when you die, that's what happens. You go into your shadow, your unconscious mind. The place that most people never became familiar with. But if you have become familiar with your unconscious mind, then you go into yourself. As you go back to the essence. Well, the essence is the unconscious mind, where the archetypes are, as we say, where the gods and the goddesses are, and that's what you are anyway. You go back to yourself. But most people have no idea who they are because you learn yourself in dreams. You don't learn yourself when you're awake. You don't learn yourself when you're awake. You have to also be aware of what you're dreaming. They have to work together. Your waking life has to be integrated with your dreaming life. Because once you're able to see the parallels when they begin to cross, now you're engaging in magical activity. When the shadow and the waking self cross, fuck, I saw that person in my dreams. This happened. When you begin to notice things that happen in your dreams and waking life, that's real synchronicity. So why most people is thinking it's angel numbers and patterns and all type of shit that don't have anything to do with nothing. Real synchronicity is I saw this when I was engaging with my shadow and now I'm seeing it now. That means there's something about this I should pay attention to. I can learn something from this. The shadow speaks in symbols. It's symbolic talk. It's probably not just going to tell me directly what's going on. I probably got to peel back some layers before I get to the final conclusion. But in that process of getting to the final conclusion, I'm learning about who I am and certain symbols and certain energies and frequencies, certain things have certain effects on me. And I can use these combinations to tap into certain chambers of my consciousness, which is what people do. You know what symbols put you in what state of mind, and you know when to be in that state of mind for the greatest success. That's just you taking responsibility of your life. You're just doing your own mathematics. You're doing your own calculations. You're not leaving it up to a higher force because you know that you are that higher force. But you step into the responsibility now. Like, okay, I have to set the energy. It doesn't set itself. Because when I allow it to set itself, now I pay the karmic consequence of not doing it on my own. And that's why things happen to me that just seems just out of the ordinary. Because I didn't set the calculations. I didn't do the math. I didn't draw it up. So that's what it comes down to. You see, I'm just taking you into a swim into the deep oceans of Scorpio with this, showing you the many layers of how this is infinite when most people try to make this seem small. It's just that they're not prepared to swim in the deep oceans. Because you see, every time I show the fuck up, I'm taking you into a deep swim. Hopefully, you don't drown, right? Because that's the waters of Neptune. That's the hangman. That's the law of reversal. You're hanging upside down. The law of reversal is in the tarot, meaning this is older than even what we realize. So even though we call it dark and we call it wicked, we call it satanic, but this is just what the ancestors did. They didn't call it any of that shit. They just knew what it was and took advantage of it. They didn't judge it like we're judging it. Like, oh, it's animalistic, it's demonic, it's satanic. We're just judging it because that's our religious mind. The ancestors didn't have a religious mind. They don't look at like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Oh, that's a little bit too wicked. They did what was necessary to do in order to achieve the results they were seeking. They didn't make a difference between this or that. There's no difference between this or that. That's why the literature of 93 just taps you back into how you thought as an ancestor before all of this bullshit. That's why it's called wicked. It's not wicked because it's introduced you to just some crazy things that you probably shouldn't know. It's reminding you of this is how it is to think without without this religious influence that's within all of our subconscious. All of us, this is within all of us. So it's like it ain't like you can surpass it. We have all been integrated with religious doctrines, whether consciously or subconsciously. So it ain't like it's just something that's not there. So we all have to face like, okay, this is within me deeply, and in order for me to supersede this ingrained idea, I have to replace it with something. I can't just say, oh well, this is no longer true. I have to take out and replace. Otherwise, you will bleed out. Like if you have a wound, you can't just pull out. Like if you get hit with an arrow, you can't just pull out the arrow. You're gonna bleed to death. You have to leave the arrow in and you work around it, type shit, right? That's essentially what the occult is. It's like you getting hit with an arrow. It's not fatal, but you're bleeding out. So you experience what it's like to get hit with an arrow. It's just not gonna kill you, but it's like, yo, if I just try to rip this shit out, like that's gonna make things worse. So I have to utilize this darkness. What do I mean by that? You can say you at that point you will be going through a psychedelic experience because your blood levels are fluctuating. Even though again it's not fatal, it's the equivalent to a psychedelic experience. You're experiencing death just in a miniature form. It's not the physical death, but it's a mental death. It's a cleansing. We have to go through that cleansing. That's what they call a rites of passage. A rites of passage is the ideas you had as a boy, the ideas you had as a girl are now washed away and then replaced with thoughts of man and thoughts of woman. That's a rites of passage. It's not just a physical activity. It's you are washed. That's why a lot of times the rites of passage required you to have to kill some shit. Because that's what they really consider. Okay, if you, what evolves you from boy to man, you have to kill a giant beast like a lion or a bear, a wolf, or you have to, something that's just fucking dangerous. You have to kill that fear of danger. The only way for you to kill that fear is to actually do it and go through seeing what happens and the results and how to absorb the energy and this is like it's a whole thing that completely changes you as you can expect. The same thing that happened if you killed a human being. It would affect you in a way that force you, it will mature you. I don't recommend doing that, but the result would be it matures you because that's what death, the currency of death does. That's the Plutonian current. That's again, that's why it's called the Forbidden Planet or the Invisible Planet now because it was demoted. So it's like it's only a planet in the minds of those who understand. It's no longer officially because again, Pluto is unofficial. That's the whole energy. So Pluto even being demoted like yeah, that Pluto would rather not be known if we understand the story of Pluto, if we understand the story of Hades. How Hades or Pluto did not like being around the other guys because like, hey, what the fuck are y'all doing? So Pluto like, yo, I'm no longer a planet. I don't want to be on the same rank as these motherfuckers anyway. That's actually in accordance to the mythology. So like, for those who don't understand these things, that's why that happened. Pluto became infamous because that's just the natural energy of Pluto. Pluto is in its natural element, infamous as a motherfucker, still influencing shit. We all go through our seasons of Scorpio, which is intense. Scorpio is known for its intensity because it's ruled by Pluto. Pluto represents intensity, transformation, but mainly intensity. Whenever you're dealing with Pluto, the energy is intense because that at times is what requires people to change. That's why I was saying at times of war, where people have to change unwillfully, they have to change by force. When you have to change by force, that's different than changing on your own accord. That's what happens at the rites of passage. Do you really think that boy would go through the rites of passage? I'm sure the boy wanted to continue to be a boy and do what boys do, but he or she was snatched out of their environment. It's time for you to be a man or a woman now. Not because you want to, because it is simply time for it to occur. And then they go on their journey. A psychological journey is psychological when you experience death. It's psychological. Because again, you never imagine yourself killing anything, then you find yourself having to kill a lion or a bear or another human being. Now, you can no longer again look at yourself as purely holy. Like, damn, I am kind of satanic. I just killed some shit. Because, yeah, people, all the vegans and vegetarians of the world, you happen to kill some shit, that's probably something you wouldn't want to do, right? probably will look at yourself crazy. But now you're really in tune with your shadow because the shadow was the energy that did it in the first place. You didn't even know you could do it until your shadow rose to the occasion and reminded you of what you are truly capable of. That's what happens, right? When you're backed into a corner, your shadow is summoned and reminds you just what you are capable of. You're doing things that you didn't even know you can do. If it's about your survival, you're going to do everything within your power to survive, even things that you didn't think that you had the ability to do, because now your shadow is activated. Because like, oh, your shadow, like, oh, this is a situation in which I can come out and play. It got to be intense. It got to be transformative. It's not in the everyday hustle and bustle of life. Your shadow is not really. That's why they created this cubicle 9 to 5 world, because it's a world in which the shadow, you can say, is not invited. That's what the corporate or the culture, the corporate culture is. They don't want people on hip hop time. They want people on corporate time. They don't want the creative juices. They want to utilize the creative juices, but they don't want it really influencing in that way. So I'm gonna take another tote of the devil's leaf, right? I'm saying all that to say you have to be put in a very intense situation to really know what you're capable of, because now you are learning your shadow. So if your shadow only really comes out in these very intense moments, if we bring this back to the sexual experience, which is a very intense experience, the shadow also comes out essentially in the tantric experience or the sex magical experience. The shadow can come out like, oh, that's an experience that the intensity is enough for the shadow to manifest. Because the shadow, again, it's like Superman has to be Clark Kent until the moment arises where Superman is needed. Batman has to be Bruce Wayne until the moment arises that Batman is needed. It's just not Batman 24/7. It's not Superman 24/7. It's not Wonder Woman 24/7, right? These are things that we saw. Yeah, every superhero has a alter ego, but why? Like, well, why not be Superman 24/7? Why not be Wonder Woman 24/7? Why not be the Flash 24/7? Why is it absolutely necessary that they try to pretend like they're normal human beings, working 9 to 5s like everybody else? Why is it necessary for them to play that position when they can just be a superhero 24/7? Is that ever explained in comics? No, but it's there. And again, that's why it depends on your level of understanding that you really know what's going on. It's always in our face, but depending on how deep you have went into the Neptunian waters, are you able to really see what's right in front of you? That's why, as people get older, like, it's not that life is just changing so much in a way that gives them clarity. They just have traveled deep enough within themselves to have inner realizations in the same life that everybody else is living in. They have inner realizations. As you get older, you have inner realizations, not outer realizations, inner realizations. Then you act in accordance to those inner realizations. And that is what brings that Plutonian change through the inner realizations, because that influences your actions moving forward. So, this is what I mean by in this day and age, the very thing that we frown upon, again, whether it's sex magic or this a tantric experience, the very thing that, again, pornography, the very thing that has like this ugly face that most people are trying to stay away from is really the very thing that actually it exists for a reason other than what people are utilizing it for. And what I mean by that is you are a energy generator. How much energy are you able to generate? Because that activates your shadow. And if you are learning, you learn your shadow through the sexual experience because of the level of intensity in which the shadow can produce itself. You learn about yourself in the sexual experience, but it has to be prolonged. This is why those experiences last for hours. It's not that you're just trying to outperform any and everybody. It's the series of psychological, the energy going through all of the chambers. It's certain chambers that can only be unlocked when the energy is at a certain frequency. So it's like you have to match that intensity in order for certain chambers to be unlocked. It requires a Plutonian force, which is why the energy once again was demoted to further take us away from the tantric or the sexual influence of Pluto. As we know, Pluto or Scorpio represents the genitals in medical astrology. So, of course, they're going to demote Pluto, which is basically demoting the genitals. Which is like, okay, well, these are just tools. These are just tools in which we use to produce children. We really, it's, and just to have temporary pleasures. It's never explained. Okay, these are actually occultic, ritualistic devices that expand your consciousness. But that's what the truth is. But the truth again is it's a little bit as you see it's a little harsh, it's a little extreme at this point. It's very extreme. But it's also important that you know these things, that you are able to get to these levels of extreme, because that's what's necessary. Things that are soft and filtered. It's like listen to music that's clean. Are you really going to get the full essence of listening to a song, the clean version of a song? Are you really getting the real essence listening to the clean version? No. You can get an idea, but unless you hear it in the original form, you're not going to be able to fully. It's not going to, you could say, touch the shadow, because you could say it's the cuss words that's really touching the shadow. It's the violence that's touching the shadow. Like when we listen to music, if you're listening to drill music, for example, it's the violence that's touching the shadow. Or if it's love songs, it's that's touching the shadow. It's the raw emotion that touches the shadow. So when you alter the raw emotion, it's not going to trigger it the way that the original song would. And we all know this. Like there's absolutely no reason that you should be listening to clean music unless you're hearing it on the radio. But it's like again, the radio is you don't get the full energy. The radio is like just really a demonstration of the potential because you're not hearing the real song, you're hearing a filtered, watered down version of the song. You got to go to the real version to hear, like, oh, this is what's really going on. This is essentially, this is the tantric life, meaning the tantric life is, it's us coming to the conclusion or the realization that our life is forbidden still. Even like you are a part of hip hop, your life is really still forbidden. It's not really accepted by the mainstream. The mainstream still doesn't understand you, even though it wants to capitalize off you. It still has no understanding because you are the future, as we explained earlier. The tantric energy is futuristic, it produces the future. That's why I said earlier, pornography allowed the internet to become as advanced as it is. Now we're dealing with AI. And guess what's in the forefront of AI? Oh, you can do some very interesting things with these pornographic images. So while people are creating the AI art and all that, you got the, what do they call it? You got the safe for work art, but then you got the not safe for work art. You got to go into the darker chambers to get that not safe for work. But AI is also with the not safe for work. You can produce all type of shit. So now you can produce imagery in accordance to whatever it is that you're into with AI art. So now you don't really have to seek it. You don't really have to find it. You can actually produce it. You see the difference? Now you're cutting all that time searching for this, searching for that, when you can actually produce what it is that you're drawn to with artificial intelligence. So that's why people, a lot of people don't understand artificial intelligence. They may be against artificial intelligence. They feel like it violates certain copyrights, so on and so forth. But this is actually for those who are into technomancy and understand, like, if you are a person that likes to create your own art and you don't like having to rely on other people's art, you don't like having to go to Instagram to see art or have to do Google searches. You actually just want to produce your own art based on your own ideas. You want to produce art based on your own ideas. Now you have the opportunity to do that with artificial intelligence, whether it's safe for work or not safe for work. So you can go into your angelic side, but also you can go into your demonic side. You see how that works? You see how artificial intelligence allows you to explore both chambers? It ain't just so like, oh, this is all clean art. No, you can go into the dark art as well. You can fully explore your imagination with artificial intelligence. So this allows you to explore the depths of your consciousness. How deep do your thoughts really go, and what you can produce art with it? You can produce stories. That's with the Chat GPT. Now you can produce stories based on what you like. You can produce stories, and it's really no limit to what can be produced at this point, because you see artificial intelligence expands your creativity. A lot of people feel like, well, I'm not going to integrate my own creativity with artificial intelligence because it's like a machine learning. However, as an artist myself, you see, I've been doing art since I was a teenager at this point. Been doing art. I see the artificial intelligence, if you know how to properly put in the prompts, it will expand your artistry, your vision. But you have to know how to put in the prompts. That's why a regular person may have issues doing this, but as an artist, you already are used to painting pictures. As an MC, you're already used to painting pictures. As hip hop, you're already used to painting pictures. So it's really something that you integrate with naturally. I'm like, okay, this is. I see why the corporate world and the mainstream world is kind of having a problem with artificial intelligence. But over here, in the dark side of the force, is well, this is what we've been waiting for. This is when things get real technomatic. So now again, you can produce the imagery or the symbols in which you feel will amplify certain energies in your life. Now you don't have to Google it. Now you can like, okay, you can produce it, but now you don't have to draw it. You can produce it with artificial intelligence. You can create what affects your consciousness the way that you want it to be affected if you are able to put the certain prompts, the mathematical codes into the machine learning. You see how I'm able to be all encompassing with this? I'm hitting all dimensions, the digital world, the physical world, the spiritual world, the mental world. We're all encompassing. It's the energy of Pan. All right? We hit all dimensions because they are all synchronized. We just try to separate everything because, again, we want to keep certain things out of it and introduce certain things that we feel is appropriate. But when we understand there is no such thing as what's appropriate and what's not, you have to create a space in which you're able to explore both sides of your consciousness. Then only then do you have an idea of what it means to be all encompassing. Then, once you master the safer work, the not safer work, how do I merge them together? Now the two becomes one. Now alchemy is being produced. And from those results, you're able to activate your magical qualities. All right. And see, it's like 10:30. I gotta be up at 3, so I'll start to wrap this up. And I'll take one more puff of this leaf, and we'll say the last things here. But you see, that's why I wanted to channel. I didn't want to just give my opinion, my thoughts, my ego. That's why I always want to move it out the way and just become a vessel of spirit. Of 93 of all of us and just speak, what we all, even myself, what we all need to hear. Right? So even I'm listening as I speak, right? So, all right, let me do this real fast and we'll close the chambers after this last opening. Then we can get back to the real world. 'Cause, right now we're like in suspended animation. Right now, this is suspended animation. So when the portal was closed, just make sure you're able to retain what comes through, because it's not easy. Don't expect this information to just slide into the consciousness easily, especially when the portal is closed. It's like a dream. When you wake up from a dream, it's like it begins to fade. So the only way for you to preserve the dream before it fades is to keep your eyes closed longer and then begin to use your imagination to synchronize. So by the time you open your eyes, you didn't connect it. You have a fully connected puzzle instead of it scattered. Because once you introduce that light into your consciousness, everything begins to fade. So you have to, like, all right, before things begin to fade, I have to quickly piece it together in my imagination to remember what I saw in my dream. That's why, again, most people don't remember dreams, because as soon as you open your eyes, it becomes a blur. So it's like you got to train yourself to wake up and still keep your eyes closed and not. That's what I mean. It's a lifestyle. It's not something that a person just does one time and it's fixed. This is something that you really have to train yourself to do, and you really have to adapt. And then you begin to get the results after you put the work in, after you have earned your rights of your passage into your dreams. Meaning, you don't just get the dream because you think you should. Because we know your dreams is you interacting with your shadow. So if you're unwilling to deal with the shadow, you're probably unwilling to remember your dreams. So of course, most people won't remember their dreams, especially if they're not trying to integrate with the shadow. So if you really want to remember your dreams, because your dream is really just the happenings of your shadow. This is what's going on in your shadow, because your shadow has its own world that is occupying that you're just not conscious of until you go to sleep. So when you go to sleep, now you're observing, oh, this is what the fuck the shadow be doing. While I'm awake, doing a 9 to 5, doing a creative, doing my own business, whatever it is that you're doing, occupying your waking life, this is what the shadow was doing behind the scenes. You like, yo, this is the complete opposite of me. Like, yo, everything, every rule that I set for myself is being broken here. Every moral I set for myself is being broken in this shadow. Everything you thought you was, you're not, is just the complete opposite of what you have created your ego to be. So again, it's you have to be all encompassing to even dream. You will see that you remember more about your dreams when you're really able to accept. You like, yo, I'm ready for the worst. I may be the very thing I hate, which you probably are. You probably are the very thing you hate. Your shadow is probably the very thing you hate that you project to others because you don't know the shadow. Like, damn, now I'm actually, that's actually my shadow. All the qualities I hate about this person, that person, it's actually my own shadow. It's part of me. But I have not connected the dots like, oh, this is a part of me. That's nothing to do with them. So when I deal with the qualities within me, then I am that. So even though I tell myself I'm not that, meaning I tell myself I'm holy, but I'm actually demonic too. It's not just them that's demonic, it's actually me too. So once I get off the high horse of being holy, or once I get out of the mystic fog of like, okay, I'm just super underworld that I'm just not in this corporate world or whatever it is. Once I integrate and fuse it, okay, well, it really is no such thing as a corporate world or underworld. It's all the same world because it's the same energy that's being generated, which is your outer planets. Your outer planets is always active. So again, the more you know yourself, the deeper you can go. Like, oh, this is all my energy, and now you really don't dislike people or this or like, oh, that was me. You take responsibility, then it becomes a level of once you remove the emotion and the hardship and everything, now everything is just a joy. So even the things you hate, your shadow loves. So it's really a point of just integrating with the shadows, not the things you hate, you love because you integrated with the shadows. So it's like, I guess most people just they have to get older to learn these things. Because you know, as you get older, you just become, it becomes more fuck it. Fuck it if people don't like me. Fuck it, fuck it, fuck it. You just, your level of fuckitness increases as you get older to the point where you get to like, you're just all encompassing. Like, this is what it is. You give no fucks. Eventually, you give no fucks. Is how you go about life. Some people give no fucks and they're just, making everybody's day horrible. Then some people give no fucks and they are able to be pleasant amongst people still. Like, I don't give a fuck about none of this, but I still know how to be mindful of my surroundings. I'm not going to let people know that. I'm going to move with a level of finesse. That my level of fuckingness isn't apparent. It's behind the veil because I know this is for my shadow. So until it's time for the shadow to come out, which there will always be a time for the shadow, because you make time for the shadow. Because when you integrate your shadow, you know that certain activities will require your shadow. Now you're not afraid of those activities. Again, your tantric activities. You're no longer afraid of these things because you understand this is your time to learn your shadow. So you're like, okay, I have to make sure that I dedicate certain time into these intense activities, whatever they may be. to get a full understanding of who and what you are again, learning your magical nature. So it's not just about a magical quality, it's a magical nature. You have a magical nature. That's the nature of your shadow. So the more you like learn your shadow, you're like, yo, this is magical. So even though the shadow is breaking all the rules, breaking all the morals, the complete opposite of what you think you are in your ego, it produces magic. Meaning it's like, yo, the shadow is a complete reversal, law reversal of my ego. But this reversal ego, as we call the alter ego, this alter ego is actually able to produce magic. Because this alter ego is just my ancestral mind. This is a part of you that is doesn't give a fuck about religion, what people think, what people do. This is a part of you. Like that part of you still exists. People are just afraid of that part. That part of you, that primitive part of you, is still in existence. That's unfazed by all of the world, how the world is, politics is, all the things that we be upset about. There's a part of you that don't give a fuck about none of that, and it's active, just in the dream world. Your shadow is active in the dream world. It just we begin to pay attention again. That's when life becomes synchronistic because you are becoming more in tune with your own shadow. And then, you see the grand picture and you see why it's called the great work. It's not just called the work, it's called the great work. That's why it's called the great work, because this is really the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing to do ain't to make $1 million, $100 million. It's to integrate with that shadow. But in doing so, you become all encompassing. So everything you thought was hard becomes easy because the hard work is already done. That's why it's the great work. It's not the great work because it just takes your whole life to accomplish. It's a great work because once accomplished, now you are able to expand into the future. The only way to expand into the future is to integrate the shadow. Otherwise, you're going to be locked into the past because the shadow dwells in the past. The shadow wishes to be freed. That's why, again, pornography pressed the internet towards the future. Otherwise, it would have just been in the past. Meaning people had to create new porn. People got active. The sexual current got active. So only reason we have Facebooks and YouTubes because people begin to put their sexual activities on camera. Imagine that. There would be none of this if people didn't record themselves doing sexual things. None of this would even be in existence. Imagine that. But it's the fucking truth. It's not the truth that people want to tell you, but it is the truth. People had to record themselves in the sexual experience because that's the magical experience. And through them producing that magical energy, the internet was able to move forward. The internet would not have been able to move forward if people didn't begin to activate that magical quality by summoning their shadow, which comes out in the sexual experience. That's why people were putting it on camera. People went into their shadow. They're still doing it. Yeah, that's why you got the OnlyFans and all type of shit. You are rewarded for going into your shadow because people know that this is what most people are not doing. So when you do it, you are rewarded for it. And again, it may not be fame, it may be infamy. It may not necessarily be a bunch of money, it may be a bunch of credit. You're just able to move in places that most people can't move. Again, you may not know what you receive until you receive it, but you understand why you received it. Because you did what most people were unwilling to do. So now we understand why, even in hip hop, why people try to glorify, you could say, the violence and all the things that seem apparently wrong and that's destructive to the community. However, it is the manifestation of the shadow. When you get behind that mic, you are to manifest the shadow. You're not here to manifest your waking life. You manifest a life in the times of the shadow. Hip hop has created the vessel for that to take place in a safe fashion. Like hip hop transforms all this into you can summon your shadow safely. You can get behind the mic. You can bust the dance moves. You can activate the graffiti. You can produce, beats. This is you tapping into the shadow safely. Even you gaining knowledge. Even the ability to gain knowledge is you tapping into your shadow. Your shadow is what makes you wise. It's not your waking life because you just read a bunch of books. Reading a bunch of books doesn't make you wise. It's the integration with the shadow. Because your shadow has access to the universal wisdom, not the books. Your shadow is what's already up on game, you can say. So we really are here to really learn from ourselves. That's why it's called knowledge of self. Your higher intelligence, the holy guardian angel. Knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. So while we're here in the demonic world, we still have the ability to, you could say, have conversation with our higher self. Down here in the demonic world, we still have that connection with the angelic side. So I would say that's the message. I didn't say it, so I didn't say it as many ways as I need to say it. So take this with the most extreme patience and conceal your activities, but don't use that as an excuse not to engage in them. Just remember to conceal. After all, it is do what thou wilt. So conceal your activities and activate the true will. Love is the law, love under will.